Jeopardy! Please welcome our contestants. Player one. And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trevet.
Thanks, Johnny. Welcome to Jeopardy, everyone. Good luck to you in the Jeopardy round. For this game, the categories are as follows. Literature. The National Park System. Ouch. Alliteration allotment. Missing body parts. And who's your daddy? Player one. In Chapter 52 of this novel, a boisterous crowd is gathering for Fagin's execution. We're talking about Oliver Twist. You again. 19th century author, known for writing about a venerable mansion with 7 acutely peaked gables. We're talking about Nathaniel Hawthorne. Player one. People from the past appear to a brother and sister in Rewards and Fairies by this author of The Jungle Book. Player one. Right you are. Player one. Answer. It's the Daily Double. And you have the lead. Player one, give us a wager. Answer. Modern novels with biblical titles include Jane Hamilton's The Book of Ruth and Toni Morrison's Song of Him. Hey, you're right. You again. Even Grendel would love Seamus Heaney's new translation of the Anglo-Saxon epic about this title geet. Here's what we wanted. Beowulf. Player one. A national memorial in this city commemorates the site of the April 19, 1995 bombing that killed 168. Here's what we wanted. Oklahoma City. You get to the Philadelphia home where he wrote The Telltale Heart is now a National Historic Site. Let's hear it, player one. Yep. Player one. Fort Necessity, the site of the first battle of this war on July 3, 1754, was designated a national battlefield in 1961. Yes, player one? Sorry, that's wrong. Here's the correct response. The French and Indian War. Player one. Lying in both Tennessee and North Carolina, it has more annual visitors than any other national park. Player one? You get Christiansted National Historic Site on this largest of the U.S. Virgin Islands commemorates its Danish heritage. We're talking about St. Croix. You again. The rheumatoid type of this is 3 times as common in women as in men. Okay, player one. Yeah! That's right. Way to go. You get to. When these are less than 5 minutes apart and last about a minute, you're in labor, and the fun is just beginning. Player one. Good. Select again, Kelly.
Look out! A symbol depicting waves, a skull and crossbones, and a person fleeing warn that a device is a source of this.
Let's hear it, player one. Right. Please. Per the Major League Baseball injury report, Randy Johnson missed his last regular season start of 2006 due to back these. Here's the correct response. Spasms. Select. An amputee may suffer real pain from this ghostly type of limb. Here's the response we were looking for. Phantom. Player one. In basketball, this ball handling infraction will cost you possession. Okay, player one. That is correct. Player one. A condition of low priority. In a cooking phrase, it usually follows on the... Here's the response we were looking for. Back burner. Player one, back to you. You'll get a charge over this critter, an Amazon river dweller that can pack a 650-volt wallop. Okay, player one. Yes. Please. Here's Jimmy from our Clue crew with the clue.
Water vapor and ozone are two of these gases, collectively known as GHGs, which keep heat from escaping the atmosphere.
Let's hear it, player one. You are correct. Please. RR as a description in mail delivery. We're talking about rural route. You get to... This assassin's third, fourth, and fifth vertebrae aren't in a Baltimore cemetery. They're at the National Museum of Health and Medicine. Yes, player one? Right. Player one. An American urologist is said to own a very important part of this French leader who died on May 5th, 1821. It's player one. Correct. You again. This Lord Protector's body was once buried in Westminster Abbey. It's believed his head is buried in Cambridge. Here's the correct response. Oliver Cromwell. You get... General Lee said, he has lost his left arm, which was buried in Elwood, Virginia, but I have lost my right arm. Okay, player one. Yeah, good. Player one. P.T. Barnum didn't have this actress's leg to stand on when she refused his $10,000 offer for it. The correct response is Sarah Bernhardt. Player one. 24-star Kiefer. Here's the response we were looking for. Donald Sutherland. We read actress Jamie Lee. The correct response is Tony Curtis. Player one. International pop star Enrique. Here's the correct response. Julio Iglesias. Player one. Boxer turned dancer Laila. The correct response is Muhammad Ali. Here's the $1,000 clue for you. Emmy and Tony Award-winning actress Amanda. Here's what we wanted. Christopher Plummer. The Jeopardy round will begin right after this. We start the Double Jeopardy categories with this one. The Vatican. Literature. The silent screen. Accentuate it. The 15th century. And physical science. Let's get... Crispin of Viterbo was the first one of these created by John Paul II. Here's what we were looking for. A saint. Player one. You may not use cell phones or felt-tip pens when researching in the secret these. The correct response is the archives. Please. Answer. The first of the two daily doubles. And you're in the lead now. What are you going to wager? And the clue. The four papal these churches include St. Peter's and St. John Lateran. Yes. Player one. The Inventario Manoscritti room is part of this Vatican building. Here's what we wanted. The library. Player one. The faithful can make offerings via cash or credit card to the fund called This Man's Pence. We're talking about Peter. Player 1. As this 1931 novel begins, Wang Lung travels to the house of Huang to fetch his bride. Here's the response we were looking for. The Good Earth. Player 1. Washington Irving based this character on his friend Jesse Merwin, a schoolteacher. Here's the response we were looking for. Ichabod Crane. You again. Upton Sinclair's 1927 novel Oil was based on this presidential scandal of a few years earlier. Here's the correct response. Teapot Dome. Player 1. In the Oxbow This, vigilantes hang 3 men falsely accused of cattle rustling. We're talking about Incident. Select. The title of this Steinbeck novel refers to a district above Monterey inhabited by paisanos. Here's the correct response. Tortilla Flat. Player 1. In Son of the Sheik, he played the title role as well as the character's father. Here's the response we were looking for. Rudolph Valentino. Player 1. In 1920, at the age of 27, this actress, known as America's Sweetheart, played a girl of 12 in Pollyanna. Here's what we were looking for. Mary Pickford. Gary Cooper had a small role as a cadet in this first Best Picture winner about 2 flyers in love with the same girl. Here's what we wanted. Wings. In 1927's It, she played Betty Lou Spence, a department store salesgirl with designs on her boss. Here's the correct response. Clara Bow. Player 1. Orson Welles said, "The greatest Civil War film ever made was The General, starring and directed by this comedian." Here's the correct response. Buster Keaton. Player 1. In this language of the British Isles, you'll see accent marks on the letter W. Player 1. Sorry. We're talking about Welsh. Player 1. Spanish words with the stress on the last syllable have accent marks only if they end in N, S, or one of these. We're talking about a vowel. You may ask why this language has an accent mark in its word for why. Perché? Here's what we wanted. Italian. Player 1, and I'll hand it off to Sarah.
In poetry, it's a foot, or metrical unit consisting of an unstressed followed by a stressed syllable.
Let's hear it, Player 1. No, sorry. Here's what we wanted. An iamb. Select. Some Shakespeare editions use accents to clarify meter, as in this man's, "The time is out of joint, O cursed spite." Here's what we were looking for. Hamlet. Player 1. On July 3rd, 1450, peasant leader Jack Cade entered this capital in triumph. By July 12th, he was dead. Here's the correct response. London. A rebellion of his brothers Andrei and Boris was stopped by this ruler the third. Come on, how many Russian names are left? We're talking about Ivan the Third. This Portuguese prince wasn't just about exploration. He and his brother Fernando tried to conquer Tangier and failed miserably. We're talking about Henry the Navigator. Player 1. In 1453, the last Byzantine emperor, the 11th of this name, died in the vain defense of his city. We're talking about Constantine. You again, Player 1. A masterpiece of illumination is the circa 1415 book Les Très Riches Heures du this duke? The correct response is the Duc de Berry. Select again. All 5 elements of the salt-producing halogen group end in these 3 letters. One element purifies drinking water. Let's hear it, player 1. No, that's not right. We're talking about I-N-E. Player 1. It's the lightest known stable subatomic particle. The correct response is electron. Player 1. Answer. The other daily double. And you have the lead. What are you going to wager? And the daily double clue. Hygroscopic substances have a tendency to absorb this from the atmosphere. No. We're talking about moisture. Player 1. A body at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by a force according to Newton's law of this property. Okay, player 1. No. Here's the correct response. Inertia. And the $2,000 clue? And here's Sarah.
Nuclear fusion in the sun's core produces energy that eventually flows to the photosphere, first by radiation and then by heat currents, using this process, also used in a type of oven.
Player 1? Hey, you're right. Good game. You will participate in Final Jeopardy right after this. Here comes the Final Jeopardy, players. The category is this: American Publishing. Please enter your wager. And the clue reads: the 1860 frontier novel Malayska, the first of its kind, sold 300,000 copies for total sales revenue of this. And your response? And that correct response would add... You've come out ahead as our champion, player 1. So long.